Hi, I'm Kelly Mantle, and this is my Bodyody of work. Well, I mean, I'm a child of the theater, you know. I love doing theater. It's so fascinating to go onto a stage and create a complete imaginative world and become someone else and take a group of people there with you. So that's what I love to do most of all. But in order to pay the bills, sometimes you gotta go do television and film. And I've learned and started to love the medium so much more after doing it. But yeah, that's, I was an actor, and then that's just, the next level. You just start doing television and film. So I moved to Hollywood. NYPD Blue was my first big role. Well, it was my first big role on television. It was really cool because when I got the call, I got to go in and read for Stephen Bochco, who is the creator of the show. And since I was kind of a newbie, I just thought, oh, this is, normal, what you do. And that is not the case at all. But I went in and read for him, and then he said, what do you think of the role? And I said, well, since you're asking, I think, she could be a little fleshed out, give her some dimension, give her some heart, give her some humanity, And he's like, oh, wow, all right, well, thank you for coming in. So I thought, well, I shouldn't have opened my big mouth. But I did, and it paid off because I got the role. And he liked me so much, he brought me back for season 2. It was a little recurring role. And I got to sit with him and kind of, flesh that character out. It didn't get anywhere where I would want it to be. But for that time period, it was a lot, They were also, NYPD Blue was one of the first shows on network television that had a out gay actor playing a gay role. And I had that little scene with him. I think maybe social media was around, but it's certainly not what it is today. And so there wasn't a lot of dialogue around trans issues and trans characters. And so that's why every time I got one of those roles, I was going in and trying to do my best to communicate with them on how I feel it would be best delivered. And sometimes people were willing to work with me and do that, and sometimes it was like, shut the fuck up and say your lines, So, Nip Tuck, Ryan Murphy, I was the apple of his eye there for a second. And The New Normal, he cast me on The New Normal, which was another TV show of his. So yeah, that was super cool. I mean, I'm such an admirer of Ryan Murphy. If you all have not seen his speech or heard it from the Golden Globes this year receiving the Carol Burnett Award, it's so good. He gives his time and his space to so many of us that kind of live on the outskirts and the underground, and the disenfranchised, and he creates such great art with it. So it was really cool to be a part of Nip Tuck. It was the first season he was directing. It was one of their first episodes. And then he brought me in for The New Normal. He also brought me back in, I don't remember if it was Glee or Nip Tuck, to audition for an F to M. So I thought, well, that is interesting. And I went in and gave it my most, but I did not get that role, which, is probably for the best. Dragtastic, New York City, was so much fun. It's a stand-up comedy special. It was my first time ever to do stand-up comedy. Never done it before. And the producer, Andrea Meyerson, saw my one-person show at the LA Gay and Lesbian Center called The Completion of My Illusion. And she said, you need to come do this stand-up show I'm producing for Logo in New York. And I said, well, I've never done stand-up before. She's like, you'll be fine. You'll be great at it. On national television. It was so much fun, and it bit me in the butt, and I've been doing stand-up ever since. It was me and Hedda Lettuce and Harmonica Sunbeam and Bianca Del Rio. And it was before Bianca and I were on Drag Race together, so that was my first time to meet her. And we did the stand-up show there in New York, and then after the show, she tried to cut me in the alley. It's a true story. Tried to cut me in the alley. We had a restraining order against each other, and that is why they had the split cast season on Drag Race on our season, because they knew we couldn't be in the same room together. So they had to send one of us home first. Yep, it was me. So it's Bianca's fault that I went home first. It's a true story. Eagle Heart. completely assassinates me. That is literally like my favorite TV film role to date, because I got to shoot a judge in the face and then I got blown up later. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, Eagle Heart, I'm so happy that it's kind of gone viral, that scene, because we did this at a time before anyone was having a lot of dialogue or discussions about non-binary people. And I've always existed under the trans umbrella as a non-binary person. And so when I got the script, I was like, I can't believe this, because it was just kind of so ahead of its time. And I thought they handled it with such humor and grace. And then what's crazy about that is the fact that it's still so relevant today, you know, with everything going on, and then the Supreme Court and me going into the courtroom, and you know what happens next. But yeah, I love Eagle Heart. Confessions of a Womanizer was an art house film that I made in 1927 at MGM Studios, just when talkies were turning into color television. And I looked horrible. I looked absolutely horrible. I'd never seen myself in color before, but it didn't matter because I won an Oscar for my role in Confusion of a Womanizer. I love when people say I won an Oscar for that. No, I did that with Gary Busey, and my God, that was like being on an acid trip and improvising with him. But the producers called me up one day and they said, we're going to submit you and Gary Busey for Oscar considerations for your roles in this. What do you think of that? And I said, well, I think you're ridiculous, because the movie's not that great, honestly. But they said, do you want to be considered in Best Supporting Actor or Best Supporting Actress? And I thought, well, what an interesting question, you know? I had never thought about that before. And so it opened up a dialogue with the American Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences. We had a roundtable dialogue about it all, and it was wonderful. I was happy to start that dialogue. You're welcome. You know, I love that role. I really do, in Confessions of a Womanizer. That's someone who's fleshed out, that's three-dimensional, that has some heart and soul. And I worked with them on that as well, which was great. But yeah, you know, I love getting into those really hard to do scenes, you know, as an actor. I mean, even you and I've done that a few times on the Browns in the midst of comedy. But that's the great thing about it, you know, is tragic comedy. I mean, you know, it's a dual thing. But no, when I'm doing that really emotional scene there in the jail cell, you know, sometimes actors can do amazing things on autopilot, because the only thing that was going through my mind the whole time was this aluminum thing that was probably reflecting off of my face. And that's all I could think about the whole time. But I did deliver a good performance regardless. The Browns. I love Sheila. Sheila is so wrong, she's right, because she can get away with saying anything, you know? And I love that about her. Tammy Brown called me up one night. She said, what are you doing tomorrow? I said, it depends. Because, you know, when she asked, what are you doing? It depends. And she said, well, come over and make some art with me with this new up-and-coming filmmaker, John Mark. And I said, what are we gonna do? She's like, I don't know. So I just threw some shit in a suitcase. I showed up with some wine and some weed, and we got down and dirty. And Sheila was invented, and Billy was invented, and it's all out of improv, you know? It's like Curb Your Enthusiasm or, you know, Christopher Guest movie. I love that shit. I think one of my favorite Sheila moments is when Tammy is asking Sheila about her new lady lover named Mercy. And Sheila says, well, I mean, she is amazing, you know. She does get her Invisalign stuck inside my vagina from time to time, but that's okay, you know. I love her anyway. I think that is a very heartfelt moment for Sheila. The bitch who stole Christmas. Bitch, where are the Emmys? Where are the Emmys for this? Have you seen it? I got to play, what's the IMDb credit? Because my character actually had a name. That's one of her 2 lines, is Madeline. But they couldn't even credit me as Madeline. I'm Wistful Woman. And honey, when I tell you I showed up on that set, and I gave them wistfulness. Wistfulness. Well, it's a scene where Mayhem Miller is playing the bus driver, and my character Madeline is lost in between the Christmas past and Christmas future. I can't believe I even know this. Most people would just say the 2 lines and not know any of this, but this tells you what a studied theater person I am. And she's on her way to the Christmas future, and she gets lost, and she asks Mayhem Miller, "Where do I go?" And Mayhem Miller rudely shuts the door on her, as she has to me many times in my life. And I played the reaction wistfully. God Save the Queen, I got the role actually when I was filming The Browns. I left the shoot, when we were shooting at Fubar, I left to go to the audition for God Save the Queens. And I auditioned for this role. It started out as a short film called Marmalade, which is my character. So the whole short film centered around her. And they eventually made it into a feature film, which stars Alaska and LaGanja and Jordan Green and me, and Vicky Box plays my best friend, and Ingenue and Manila, and Michelle Visage. I got to tell Michelle Visage to go fuck herself. I love Michelle, but it was very cathartic. And what else? It was a great fun film to work on. You know, it's a film about, it's a drag film, but it's about their struggles, you know, the struggles of a drag queen, because we do struggle a lot. Probably more than most professions. I'm kidding. No, but it is. And, you know, we got to improv a lot in that film as well. And I think it's beautifully made. I mean, I think it's a good piece of work. It's a good art house film. Another one. I really like doing those art house films. You know, I'm an indie darling. I've always been an unusual girl, you know, because I am fucking crazy. And I love getting to channel all of that into art, you know. I love being able to turn all of that into art and becoming other people. And to me, that is, I mean, that's why I act. That's why I do this, you know. It's a wonderful escape. Thank you for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe to the p.e.g. YouTube channel. What are you waiting for?